Hello and welcome to another episode of 7 Minutes of Precision. My name is Sharif. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Rei Hoang, aka Nine Dolls, an ELR competitive shooter and a competitive shooter who's been in the precision shooting space for the last 10 years. Ray, thank you for being with us today. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. It's a lovely, lovely day today.
Yeah. It's really an honor to have you with us on the podcast. Like I told you when I met you at SHOT Show, I used to listen to your podcast like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So it's really a pleasure to be filming this episode with you today.
Oh, I forgot about those podcasts.
Yeah. So let me start with Nine Dolls actually. Why your handle is Nine Dolls?
When I first started shooting, this was before I started shooting long range, I wanted a name that had like something that had to do with guns and then something that had to do with women. So I had 9mm because I thought I was going to
Hmm.
shoot a lot of pistol, and I had dolls for women, so it became 9mm dolls. And
Oh,
now I don't shoot any pistol or barely any pistol, which
okay,
I actually just got a red dot for my pistol. So you're going to see me on the range more.
cool.
Yeah.
So how did you actually start getting into shooting? Especially because, as I know, you lived in California, which is not really a gun-friendly state. And then
Yes.
why you ended up in precision shooting, especially?
So when I first started shooting, I was always interested in the firearms, right? But just coming from California, I didn't know anybody who shot. My family's not into it, or nor any of my friends or anybody I've dated, right? So one day for my birthday, I was like, you know what, I'm going to treat myself. So I went and I bought myself a gun, and that's
Oh,
how it started. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then one time I bought myself my first bolt gun, which is a Remington 700 in 308. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. But you know what? This is very specialized. And I'm like, I need some instruction.
hmm,
So I took a course at Max Ornament down in Southern California. And that's kind of how I started to get into long range. And then once you go out and shoot, or once I went out and shot the rifle, I just immediately fell in love. And it was just like, deep dive into it, right? I had met a gunsmith that was right next door to the gun shop that I bought my Remington. And he was a custom gun shop. And he showed me his custom guns. And I was like, wow, these are really, really nice. And he's like, oh, these are around $3,000 to $5,000. I'm like, whoa, mostly coming from someone who's never shot guns, and that's a really big ticket, right?
yes.
And I was like, I'm never gonna be able to buy one of these. That's crazy, right? And then so he's like, oh, let's go to the range. Let's shoot my rifle, and let's bring your rifle too. So we went, and a month later, I bought one.
Okay,
So he
so
got me.
was your first gun actually the Remington 700 or it was another gun?
No, my first gun was actually like an AR-15.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and before you buy that AR-15, did you actually go shoot before with someone, or you just went to buy and you never shot before?
I shot a pistol once,
Okay.
but not, yeah. And then I went to go buy the AR-15 because you don't really know anybody, right? So
Yeah.
you have to bring your own equipment. And so I brought it to the range. And whenever you're new at something, I'm like, hey, I'm new. If I'm doing something wrong, please tell me so I can
Hmm.
fix it for next time, right?
Hmm.
And everybody, the RSO there was like super nice. He was helping me like zero my scope because at that point I didn't know how to dial, and
Yeah.
I didn't know how to float the turrets. I didn't know what an MOA or what a mill was.
Yeah.
So it was a very steep learning curve. But I still have that scope now.
Wow. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So what was the actual, you said after that you bought a big expensive gun or much more expensive
Yeah.
gun. What was it if you recall?
So my first gun was the AR-15. Then I bought two pistols, like the SIG 229 and
Hmm.
the other one I think was a Beretta.
Okay.
Um, and then a couple years went by, and then I bought the Remington 700.
Hmm.
And then a month later, I bought a custom,
Oh wow. Okay,
which
yeah.
is still my favorite rifle to this day.
What action is on this one?
It was a Deviant Defiance.
Okay. And then I
Yeah.
guess you changed from 308 and you went to another interesting
Um,
caliber?
I I went to a 6.5 Creedmoor, and that was
Okay.
2015. Yeah,
Hmm. Okay.
yeah.
Very
And then I
cool.
started reloading during that time too.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you take any courses to learn reloading, or it was just you on your own with the
No,
internet?
no. The gunsmith next door let me reload in his shop because I didn't
Hmm.
have any equipment yet until I got my stuff up and running. Um, and then he taught me a few things, and it's mostly like you read books. I bought a few books, and you already know the basics, right? And then of course there's you just learn when you do it. Um, I had I was living in a one bedroom apartment, and there's not a lot of place for reloading. So
Yeah.
I had put my press on a piece of wood, and I would C clamp it to my coffee table, right? And I would
Wow.
reload in the living room like that. And then once I had guests over, I would take all my reloading stuff, put it in the closet. So then
Hmm.
nobody would know, right?
They wouldn't
So I was
freak
a
out.
closet
Yeah.
reloader.
Because definitely the way I think about it is shooting, maybe a little, scary, but definitely reloading is intimidating because you're dealing with
Yeah,
primers and powder, and
yeah,
if you're
yeah,
not sure what you're doing, this is not a space where you don't want to be sure. You want someone to tell you from their
exactly.
experience, right?
Exactly. And headspace is very important.
Yeah,
Always measure
absolutely,
headspace. Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, and after that, you started doing PRS shooting.
I did. So when I first started shooting, I used to go to this one range. Um, and where I'm from, 100 yards is the max that you can
Hmm.
have, right?
Yeah.
So Tuesday night was the only night they opened till 9 p.m. And I had work during the daytime. So Tuesday was my day to go.
Hmm.
I had requested work. I was like, hey, you know what? I need to start at 6 a.m. because I need to get off at 2.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm like, I'm not telling you why I need to get off, but I'm just going to do it. They're like, yeah, that's fine. So I'd go into work super early so I get off. And when I get off, I go home, pick up my guns, drive to the range, and then just close that range. I would just practice the most boring stuff, because I was new, like dot drills. I was like, okay, I need to get into position, like the same, right? Just because I don't have the 500, 600,000 yard range that everyone else has.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
use what I had. So that was really fun. And then one of the ROs told me like, "Hey, you should go to a competition." And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to competition. I'm not that type of person, right? I don't compete. I'm just doing this for fun. But anyways, he talked me into it. So I drove down a few hours, and I went to the competition, and it was a field match. So you had to hike. I didn't have
Hmm.
a sling, so I had my drag bag, and I I used it, and I'm like, I'm just going to use what I have,
Hmm.
right? And it was so much fun because everyone was so nice. Everyone was like so welcoming, and I was like, wow, I can actually shoot out to like 900 yards. This is so cool. And they put out the steel for you. So it's just like a range session,
Yeah.
with
Hmm.
friends. Like, and you're making new friends, right? And all
Yeah.
sorts of ages too. So I really liked it. And I was like, okay, I might do competitions now just because everything's set up for you. Like, I don't have to win it, right? I'm just
Yeah.
going just to have fun, right? But now, of course, I,
You want
I
to win
like to
it.
win too.
Absolutely. So, did you actually do PRS for a while, or mainly it was hunter matches
Oh
and?
no, I did. I was very, very heavily into PRS. During that time, NRL also had like the PRS style matches too.
Hmm.
So I would go to both. A year I would go to like around like 20 matches, 20 national matches, like driving
Wow.
around. Um, Between like field matches, PRS, or at that time they also had gas
Hmm.
gun PRS.
Yeah.
So we did that too, and then just filled it in with like local matches, which a local match would be like within like a 6 hour drive.
So you said about 20 matches a year.
Yeah. Up
And
until COVID, I was doing
oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah. And then during COVID, like I had signed up for both series, PRS and NRL, and I had all these matches like I was going to, like my whole schedule for the year. And then one by one, they would just cancel, 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 cancel. And I'm like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
and then and then that's when I moved to Arizona, and I had did a factory tour of JJ Rock, and I
Hmm.
told them like I've always wanted to dabble into ELR, and they let me borrow a rifle, and they gave me components. They're like, hey, I know you reload. Here's components. We don't know the load data, but there you go. Have at
Figure it
it.
out.
And then
Mm.
yeah, the next day I went to a match, and then, so I actually started load developing at the match down in New Mexico,
Wow.
and it was a lot of fun. But I didn't know anybody there because I'm new to ELR, and it was so cool because I hit a sub MOA target past 2 miles, and that's just like, bam, you're hooked. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, you
So
just feel so good.
now you're mainly doing ELR. Like I guess you do other matches from time to time, but mainly ELR. Is that what you're concentrating
Yeah, yeah. Main focus was ELR, but this year, since I'm back in Arizona, I'm going to incorporate everything else again,
on? Okay.
right? Um,
And one of the reasons you went to Arizona was it shooting?
100% for shooting. Like, so people are like, oh, you're so lucky you have all these rangers. I'm like, no, honey, that's by design. Like, I moved states away from all my family, all my friends, my old work. Like, I made that sacrifice so I can have a nice house for my guns. And I call
That
them my
is
babies.
that is impressive, really. The dedication to do that is just impressive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But now it's really nice. I have like a dedicated room for my gunsmithing. And now I have the garage where I can put all my old brass out there. So there's
Hmm.
more room in
Yeah.
the reloading
Yeah, I
room.
was
Yeah.
watching a little bit of your Instagram stories and reels about building your gun room. It's really nice.
Yeah. I've probably redone my reloading room 7 times because I move a lot. Not that I want to, but it just happens, right?
And now you're
So I,
adding the progressive presses for pistol.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I have two. So,
Hmm.
and you saw me dual. So one press is going to be for pistol and one press is going to be for rifle, right?
I guess
So
that's AR you referring to for rifle.
yeah, I want to shoot a lot more 223.
Okay,
So I
yeah.
want to do like pistol and carbine work.
Hmm.
So like short range. So if things happen, that's what we're going to shoot, right?
Okay, yeah.
Not shooting at 2 miles. So defensive shooting, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And what got you hooked into ELR?
That 2 mile shoot.
That 2 mile shoot?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, before I bought my Remington 700, right?
Hmm.
I went in, I know nothing about ELR shooting, precision rifle, but I wanted to shoot far. I'm like, oh, I want to shoot like, 2 miles and stuff. And I, looked it up, maybe not 2 miles, but I knew I wanted to shoot far. So I was looking at the 338 Lapua, right? So I
Okay.
went into the shop and I'm like, I want me one of these. And they were like, Ray, do you know how much a round costs? I'm like, no. They're like, you should start off with a 308, and practice. And I'm like, no, I really want the 338. They talked me into a 308, and I'm so glad. That was really, really good advice because then I got a lot of trigger time behind the
Absolutely.
rifle.
Yeah.
You learn your fundamentals, and now that I know that stuff, I'm already doing ELR.
Hmm.
So it's pretty cool. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
it's definitely good to, go take it up, like starting from
Yeah.
maybe through 8 or something and understanding the ballistics and, the
Yep.
curve and everything before you get
Yep.
to that. Do you always end up in transonic when you're shooting ELR?
No.
No? Sometimes you stay in the supersonic phase?
Uh, where? Well, at targets, yeah, no, we're not supersonic at that point. I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
one of my targets was like 4250, and at that point it's just like poof, like it's like a little tap on the,
Just touching
that's
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's like a little bunny pop.
yeah. And what did you find the difference? Like, I guess obviously your time in PRS helped you so much, but what is the main differences that you found transitioning from PRS to ELR?
I I was lucky enough to use a lot of the skills I learned from PRS and hunter matches and incorporate it to EOLR. But of course, some things don't work out. Like you can't use a squeeze bag,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
those rifles are like 40 pounds. My rifle is 40 pounds. That
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't work out.
Right.
But the first match, that's what I used, right? But it was like a heavy sandbag. So it's just certain things that you kind of have to adjust, like that. One of the things I did not do, because I used to hold for wind all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But ELR, I think my second match, I was holding and I was just like, so reticles like this. I'm like, here. And I'm like, it was stupid. It was not good. And I'm like, after that, I was like, man, I have to change my methods a little bit for ELR. So now I dial. I also slow myself down a lot too. You shoot PRS, you shoot like 90 seconds, you're 10 targets in five different positions. So you're pa, 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 right?
Yeah.
But ELR, you don't, I just need to slow down.
Mm-hmm. And I
So
guess
I,
your wind reading is really more important right now because I guess you're more stable compared to PRS. Maybe you're in a barricade or something. So wind maybe is a challenge, obviously, but also your stability is also a challenge.
oh, for sure. And then it's your components. You just have to have everything consistent. Everything has its hard, right? PRS is very positional. You got your body right, you got, enough support. ELR, you have all your supports,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have time to set up your rifle. But you need to know your data, the weather, if the weather changed, how what the mountains are doing, and how that wind is moving through those mountains. Is there an
Mm-hmm.
updraft, a downdraft? Like there's a lot. There's a lot to ELR, um, but it's nice because you can be
Yeah.
a little nerdy, and you're an engineer, and I'm an engineer, so I kind of like,
Yeah. You want to get into all the details. No,
yeah,
definitely. That's one of the things that got me hooked. Like when I started shooting, I actually wanted to get a pistol or an AR, but I ended up going with a Savage 10TR in 308.
yeah, yeah,
And I wasn't sure why I went for a bolt action. It was just my first gun, and I got hooked into like long range shooting and precision shooting, and I love it now because I feel it's more than shooting. It's understanding the ballistics, understanding what the bullet does, what the gun does, all these details. If I end up shooting only pistol, I don't think I would pay too much attention to it.
yeah, 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 and it's just like your success is what you do before you even get on the range, right?
Hmm.
Do you have the correct bullets? Do you have the right BC? How is the BC variance in the bullets? What kind of powder did you use? What is it, the same lot of powder, throughout all of the, your what you loaded, right?
Yeah.
Did you leave your ammo in the sun?
Yes.
Right, what's your neck tension, right? What's the force that you sat the bullets? It gets to really 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 nerdy stuff, right?
It's really a sport that is great for OCD. If you have OCD, I think reloading and precision shooting is just right for you.
But you know what, there's a balance too. There's a balance. You can't just be reloading and you're going to burn out your barrel. You also need time to practice and shoot.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
So I want to ask you a little bit about your perspective as a female shooter when you got into the competitive precision shooting, especially. I think a lot of females maybe holding back or don't feel comfortable because it's mostly a male competitive shooters. How was your experience getting into it?
mine was fine. I believe everyone is like so welcoming, and you just come with a good attitude.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man. You're like, hey, like I said before, hey, I'm new. Let me know if I'm doing anything wrong or what I can improve on. And people are very receptive of that, and they're very helpful. And they're like, hey, do you want to borrow this? Do you want to borrow that? Because when you get into these shooting sports, they're expensive. Like
Yeah.
even a bag, like your rear bag, you're like, oh, this is like a pillow, Oh, that's $100. Like what? You know?
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
so it's nice to go to these matches and try out different items, right?
Yeah.
And people are very nice. If you ask nicely, you're like, "Hey, can I see your gear? What are you running?" Which
Uh,
is also kind of bad because then you spend a lot of money.
I want this. I need this.
I'm always afraid to look behind glass. I'm like, no, no, I don't want to look behind your glass.
Yeah, scopes is where you don't want to be playing with this. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's actually one of the things that I see a lot in matches when there are new people. Like usually in
yeah,
a PRS match, you're not supposed to coach someone who is on stage shooting.
hmm,
But if it's a new person, usually the match director is like, yeah, if it's a new shooter, you can coach them a little bit, give them a little bit of
yeah,
tricks, you know
yeah, yeah,
things you don't think
yeah,
of, like they start with their magnification all the way up, but then they can't find the target, which we all did it, I guess. um,
yeah.
so yeah. Okay,
We've
so
all
now
been there, done that.
absolutely. So now you actually gonna start shooting a little bit more of pistol and ARs, right? It's the plan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll be shooting more pistol in the yard because they do have like Wednesday night steel here. So after work, just go out and plink. And in Arizona, in the summertime, it's very, very hot. So you kind of want to wait for the sun to kind of dip
Yeah.
down a little bit.
What kind of
Yeah.
competitions you planning to shoot? IPSC competitions, or I'm not really familiar with the competitions in pistol.
Uh, I'm just gonna shoot steel, the steel matches. Like
Okay.
I'm not. I don't need to run around. No, I'm not. I'm unfamiliar with that too. So
Okay, yeah, so
wrong person to ask, even though it's 9 millimeter dolls.
well, I guess you just moved to Arizona, so that's what you're gonna figure it out.
You
Yeah.
live up to my name. I need to shoot 9 mil.
Yeah, that's okay. Cool. Awesome. Ray, thank you so much for being with us today. I really
Yeah.
appreciated this episode, and I'm looking forward to the next time we can film another one.
All right. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.